Dr. Elena Vasquez stared at the computer screen in her small lab on Mars. The coffee in her cup had gone cold hours ago, but she did not notice. She was looking at data from the bacteria samples she had collected from the ice caves yesterday. The work kept her busy, and being busy meant she did not think about other things. The Mars research station was quiet at night. Most of the other scientists had gone to bed. Elena liked working alone when everyone else was sleeping. It was peaceful, and she could focus better without people talking around her. A soft beeping sound came from her radio. Elena looked up, confused. No one should be calling at this time. She walked over to the communication panel and checked the frequency. Her heart stopped. The signal was coming from frequency 847.3. That frequency had been silent for 7 years. Elena's hands shook as she adjusted the controls. Static filled the air, then cleared. A voice came through the speakers, soft and musical, speaking in a language that sounded like wind chimes. "Did you miss me, human?" Elena dropped into her chair. She knew that voice. She would know it anywhere, even after all these years. It belonged to HFY. "That's not possible," she whispered to herself. But her heart was already beating faster. The voice came again, this time in perfect English. "Elena, I know you can hear me. Did you miss me?" Elena reached for the microphone with trembling fingers. "HFY? Is that really you?" "It is me, my dear Elena. I have returned." Tears filled Elena's eyes. 7 years ago, HFY had simply vanished. One day they were working together on Europa, studying strange bacteria in the ice. The next day, HFY was gone. No goodbye, no explanation, nothing. Elena had tried to find answers. She had contacted every space station, every research facility, every government agency. But no one knew anything about the Veltar species except Elena. To everyone else, aliens like HFY were just stories. "Where have you been?" Elena asked. "Why did you leave?" "I will explain everything soon. But first, I must warn you. My people are coming. You are in danger." Before Elena could ask what that meant, the communication cut to static. She tried to restore the signal, but there was nothing. Elena sat back in her chair, her mind spinning. HFY was alive. After 7 years of wondering, of hoping, of trying to forget, HFY had come back. She remembered the first time she met HFY. Elena had been studying extremophile bacteria on Europa when a strange figure appeared in her research pod. The being was tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of crystal and water mixed together. Their body gave off a soft blue light, and when they moved, colors shifted under their skin like oil on water. At first, Elena thought she was hallucinating from too much time alone in space. But HFY was real. They spoke Elena's language and knew about human science. They were fascinated by Elena's research and wanted to help. For 1 year, Elena and HFY worked together. HFY taught Elena about life forms that existed in ways humans had never imagined. In return, Elena showed HFY how humans approach science with emotion and intuition, not just logic. It was more than a working partnership. Elena and HFY grew close in ways that surprised them both. HFY told Elena that their people, the Veltar, did not usually feel emotions the way humans did. But being around Elena had changed something in HFY. They began to experience feelings they had never had before. Elena had fallen in love with this strange, beautiful being. And HFY had loved her back, in their own alien way. Then one morning, HFY was gone. Now the station's alarm system began making noise. Red lights flashed on Elena's control panel. She checked the sensors and saw something that made her gasp. There was a ship in orbit around Mars, but it was not like any human ship Elena had ever seen. It was organic-looking, with smooth curves instead of straight lines. The hull seemed to be alive, pulsing with the same blue light she remembered from HFY's skin. Elena's colleague, Dr. Martinez, came running into the lab. "Elena, are you seeing this?" The defense systems picked up an unknown vessel. It just appeared out of nowhere. "I see it," Elena said quietly. "The weird thing is, our scanners can't get a clear reading on it. The ship seems to be made of some kind of biomaterial. And look at this. Martinez pointed to another screen. It's sending out energy patterns I've never seen before. Elena looked at the patterns and felt her breath catch. She recognized them. They were the same patterns that used to play across HFY's skin when they were happy or excited. Dr. Vasquez, do you have any idea what this could be? Martinez asked. Elena stared at the ship on the screen. After 7 years, HFY had come back. But they had also said that Elena was in danger, that their people were coming. What did that mean? Elena? Martinez said again. I need to run some tests, Elena said. Can you monitor the ship and let me know if it makes any moves? Of course, but, please, just give me some time to figure this out. Martinez left, looking confused. Elena locked the lab door behind him and turned back to her equipment. She began scanning the ship with every instrument she had. The bio readings were definitely Veltar. But there was something different about the energy signatures. They seemed muted somehow. Not as bright and chaotic as she remembered. Elena set up a direct communication link to the ship. HFY, if you're there, please respond. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air in the middle of Elena's lab began to shimmer. The shimmer grew brighter and took shape. Slowly, a familiar figure materialized. HFY stood before Elena, exactly as she remembered them. Tall and graceful, with crystalline skin that glowed softly in the dim light of the lab. But something was wrong. The colors that used to dance under their skin were barely visible. Hello, Elena, HFY said. Their voice was the same, but it sounded distant, like they were speaking from very far away. Elena wanted to run to them, to touch them, to make sure they were real, but something in HFY's posture made her stay where she was. You look exactly the same, Elena said. Time moves differently for my people, HFY replied. But you have grown older. You look tired. 7 years of wondering what happened to you will do that. HFY's expression did not change. I am sorry I left without explanation. I had no choice. What happened? Where did you go? I was recalled by my people. The collective decided that my interaction with you was a mistake that needed to be corrected. Elena felt cold. What do you mean, corrected? Before HFY could answer, the station's alarms began blaring again. More ships were appearing in orbit around Mars. Elena watched the screens as more ships appeared around Mars. Each one looked like HFY's vessel, with the same organic curves and glowing hulls. But these ships were darker. Their light dim and cold. How many? Elena asked. 12 scout ships. More will come if they do not like what they find here, HFY said. Their voice still sounded strange and distant. Elena turned to face HFY properly. Now that the shock of seeing them again was wearing off, she could see the differences more clearly. HFY's skin was paler than she remembered. The colors that used to flow under their crystal-like surface were almost gone. Most importantly, their eyes looked empty. What did they do to you? Elena asked softly. HFY was quiet for a long moment. The collective discovered that my time with you had changed me. They said I was infected with something dangerous. So they tried to fix me. Fix you how? They call it emotional reconditioning. It removes the ability to feel unnecessary emotions. It makes us more efficient, more logical. HFY spoke like they were reading from a manual. The process was successful. To me. Elena felt sick. They took away your emotions? Emotions are chaos. They lead to poor decisions and unpredictable behavior. The collective has learned this through centuries of observation. This was not the HFY that Elena remembered. The being she had loved was curious and warm, full of wonder at everything they discovered together. This version of HFY spoke like a machine. But you came back, Elena said. Why? I was assigned to study you before the cleansing protocol begins. Elena's blood went cold. What is the cleansing protocol? The collective has determined that humans represent a threat to galactic stability. Your species spreads emotional chaos to other beings you interact with. This cannot be allowed to continue. Elena backed away from HFY. What are you saying? All human settlements will be sterilized. The humans will be relocated to isolated planets, where they cannot infect other species with their emotional instability. You're talking about wiping out human civilization. I am talking about protecting the galaxy from contamination. HFY's voice did not change at all, as they spoke about the destruction of Elena's entire species. Elena's mind raced. This could not be happening. The gentle being she had fallen in love with was now talking about destroying humanity like it was a pest control problem. HFY, this isn't you. You're not like this. I am exactly as I should be. The emotional contamination has been removed. Elena looked more carefully at HFY. Despite their cold words, she noticed something. When they looked at her, just for a moment, a tiny flicker of color moved under their skin. It was so quick she almost missed it. Do you remember our time on Europa? Elena asked. I remember the research we conducted. It was useful data about extremophile bacteria. That's all? What else should I remember? Elena felt tears building in her eyes. We were more than research partners, HFY. We cared about each other. You told me you loved me. For just a second, HFY's expression changed. Their eyes seemed to focus on Elena's face, really seeing her. The colors under their skin flickered brighter, then it was gone. Love is an inefficient emotion that leads to poor decision-making. I was malfunctioning, but Elena had seen that flicker. The old HFY was still in there somewhere, buried under whatever the collective had done to them. Elena's communication system beeped. Dr. Martinez's voice came through the speakers. Elena, we're getting strange readings from all the ships. It looks like they're scanning the entire station. Elena pressed the response button. I'll be right there. She turned back to HFY. I have to go deal with this. Are you going to stop me? My orders are to observe and gather data. You may continue your normal activities. Elena headed for the door, then stopped. HFY, do you remember the bacterial colonies we found in the ice caves on Europa? The ones that glowed blue when they were healthy? Again, that tiny flicker of color under HFY's skin. I remember the data about their bioluminescence patterns. You said they reminded you of your own people. You said they were beautiful. Beauty is a subjective human concept with no scientific value. Elena left the lab, but she was thinking hard. The old HFY was still there. She was sure of it. The question was how to reach them. In the main control room, Elena found the other scientists staring at their instruments in confusion. The scans are incredibly detailed, Dr. Martinez said. They're mapping everything. Every person. Every piece of equipment. Even the bacteria samples in the labs. Are the ships hostile? Elena asked. We don't know. They haven't responded to our attempts to communicate. But they're not threatening us either. They're just watching. Elena looked at the display screens showing the alien vessels. She knew what they were really doing. They were gathering data about human civilization before they destroyed it. Dr. Vasquez, you seem to know something about this, said Dr. Chen, the station commander. Your readings tonight show you've been communicating on old frequency bands. Elena realized she had to make a choice. She could tell her colleagues the truth and risk panic. Or she could try to handle this herself. But how could she fight an entire alien fleet? I need to run some more tests, Elena said. Can I have access to the deep space communication array? What for? Dr. Chen asked. I think these visitors might be trying to communicate with us. I want to try reaching them on different frequencies. It was not exactly a lie. Elena did want to communicate with the alien ships, but not to talk to them. She wanted to study their signals and find out more about what the collective had done to HFY. Dr. Chen nodded. Do it. But keep us informed. Elena spent the next few hours in the communication center, analyzing the signals from the alien ships. What she found worried her more than the threat of invasion. The ships were all transmitting on the same frequency, using identical signal patterns. It was like they shared one mind instead of having individual thoughts. Even more disturbing, the patterns were completely regular, without any of the small variations that showed personality or emotion. Elena compared these new signals to the recordings she had made 7 years ago of HFY's natural communication patterns. The difference was shocking. HFY's old signals had been full of complexity and variation, like music. These new signals were like the ticking of a clock, but there was something else. Hidden in the regular patterns from HFY's ship, Elena found tiny irregularities. They were so small that the other ships probably could not detect them. It was like HFY was trying to send her a secret message. Elena isolated these irregular signals and ran them through a translation program. Slowly, words appeared on her screen. "Help me." Elena's heart started beating faster. The real HFY was still alive, somewhere inside their conditioned mind. And they were asking for help. Elena looked at the clock. It was almost morning. Soon the other scientists would wake up and want answers about the alien ships. She did not have much time. Elena began working frantically at her computer. If human emotions had somehow infected HFY before, maybe she could find a way to do it again. She pulled up all her old research about the emotional bonds between different species. 7 years ago, she and HFY had discovered something amazing. When humans formed close relationships with other beings, it actually changed both species on a biological level. Elena's brain patterns had become more complex from interacting with HFY, and HFY had developed new neural pathways that allowed them to experience human-like emotions. Elena had always assumed this was just an interesting side effect. Now she realized it might be the key to everything. If human emotional connections could rewire alien brains, maybe they could undo the collective's conditioning. As the sun began to rise over Mars, Elena formed a desperate plan. She was going to try to bring back the real HFY, and if she succeeded, maybe together, they could find a way to stop the collective from destroying humanity. Elena returned to her lab as the morning shift began. She found HFY exactly where she had left them, standing perfectly still like a statue. They had not moved at all during the night. "Did you sleep?" Elena asked. "Sleep is not required for my species in short periods." "I was processing the data I collected." Elena sat down at her computer and began pulling up files. "I've been thinking about our old research. Do you remember the neural pathway studies we did? I remember we mapped brain activity patterns in both human and Veltar subjects." "That's right. And what did we discover?" HFY was quiet for a moment. "We discovered that prolonged interaction between our species created new neural connections in both participants." Elena looked at HFY carefully. There was that flicker again, stronger this time. When HFY talked about their old research, the colors under their skin became a little brighter. "I've been studying the signals from your ships," Elena said. "They're all exactly the same. But yours is different. You're still sending irregular patterns." "That is impossible. My communication systems are functioning normally." Elena turned her computer screen so HFY could see it. "Look at this. These are the hidden signals in your transmissions. When I translate them, they say, 'Help me.'" HFY stared at the screen. For a moment, their whole body flickered with colors. Then it stopped. "This must be a malfunction in your equipment." "It's not a malfunction, HFY. It's you. The real you. Trying to get out." Elena stood up and walked closer to HFY. "I want to run some scans on you. Medical scans. Like we used to do for our research." "For what purpose?" "I think the emotional reconditioning your people did might be reversible. If we can map your current neural patterns and compare them to the old data, we might be able to find a way to fix what they did to you." HFY's expression did not change. "The reconditioning is not something that needs to be fixed. It is an improvement. Then you won't mind letting me scan you, right? If the process worked perfectly, the scans will just confirm that." Elena could see HFY thinking. After a long pause, they nodded. "Very well. Run your scans." Elena set up her medical equipment. The scanner was designed to work on different alien species, something she had built during their original research. As the machine hummed to life, Elena watched HFY's neural patterns appear on the screen. What she saw made her gasp. HFY's brain looked like it had been damaged by surgery. Large sections that used to be active were now completely dark. The areas that controlled emotions, creativity, and personal memory had been almost completely shut down. But Elena also saw something else. Tiny new pathways were trying to form around the damaged areas. It was like Zephai's brain was trying to heal itself. "This is terrible," Elena whispered. "They didn't just condition you. They destroyed parts of your mind. They removed inefficient systems," Zephai said. But their voice sounded less certain than before. Elena compared the scans to her old data from 7 years ago. The difference was heartbreaking. The old Zephai had a mind full of complex patterns and bright activity. This version looked like a shadow of their former self. "Zephai, look at this." Elena put the two scans side by side. "This is your brain 7 years ago. And this is your brain now. They didn't improve you. They cut away most of what made you who you were." Zephai stared at the images for a long time. The colors under their skin began to pulse faster. I remember more patterns, more connections. But those memories are distant, like dreams. They're not dreams. They're real memories that your people tried to erase. Elena felt excitement growing. "But I think we can bring them back. Look at these new pathways forming. Your brain is trying to repair itself." Elena began typing quickly at her computer. "When we did our original research, we discovered that human and Veltar neural patterns could synchronize with each other. We actually created new types of thoughts that neither species could have alone. I remember sharing thoughts with you, seeing through your emotions." Zephai's voice was becoming softer, more like the voice Elena remembered. "Exactly. And if we could do it before, we can do it again. But this time, instead of just sharing thoughts, we can use the connection to help your brain rebuild the pathways that were destroyed." Elena pulled out a device that looked like a metal headband. "This is the neural interface we used before. If you put this on, and I put on the matching one, we can create a temporary connection between our minds." Zephai stepped back. "The collective forbids such connections. They lead to contamination." "The collective is wrong," Elena said. "They're afraid of emotions because they know how powerful they are. Human emotions aren't contamination. They're medicine for minds that have been damaged." Elena could see Zephai struggling. The old personality was fighting against the conditioning. "I am supposed to gather data about humans, then return to my ship," Zephai said. "When?" "In 6 hours." Elena felt panic. "Then we don't have much time. Once you return to your ship, the other Veltar will notice that you're changing. They'll do the conditioning again, and this time they might make it permanent." Elena held up the neural interface. "Please, Zephai, let me try to help you. What do you have to lose? If the collective discovers what we are doing, they will implement the cleansing protocol immediately. All humans will be destroyed. And if we don't try, they'll destroy us anyway. At least this way, we have a chance." Zephai was quiet for a long time. Elena could see colors moving under their skin, faster and brighter than they had been since Zephai arrived. Finally, Zephai spoke. "There is something I have not told you. The hidden signals you detected. I am not sending them on purpose. They are happening without my control, and they are getting stronger." Elena's eyes widened. "Your brain is fighting back on its own. The conditioning is already starting to break down." "Yes, and when it fails completely, the other ships will detect the change in my communication patterns. They will know that I have been compromised." "How long do we have?" "Perhaps 2 hours before the degradation becomes obvious." Elena felt her heart racing. 2 hours to undo years of alien brain surgery, using techniques they had never tried before. It seemed impossible. But as Elena looked at Zephai, she saw something that gave her hope. The being standing in front of her was no longer the emotionless scout who had appeared in her lab. Their eyes were brighter, their posture more relaxed. Just talking about their situation had already begun to wake up the real Zephai. "We can do this," Elena said. "I know we can. But I need you to trust me completely." Zephai reached out and took the neural interface from Elena's hands. "I trust you, Elena. I always have." Those words, spoken in Zephai's old warm voice, gave Elena the courage she needed. She put on her own neural interface and began setting up the connection. Are you ready? Elena asked. Yes, HFY said. Bring me back. Elena activated the neural link and immediately felt HFY's mind touching hers. But it was not like their old connection. HFY's thoughts felt broken and confused, like a radio with static. Elena focused all of her emotions on the memories she cherished most. Their first meeting, working together in the lab. The moment she realized she loved this strange, beautiful being. The joy they had shared in discovering new forms of life. As Elena poured her feelings through the connection, she felt HFY's mind beginning to respond. New pathways sparked to life. Old memories surfaced. The static began to clear. And in the growing clarity of their shared thoughts, Elena felt the real HFY awakening. Elena felt HFY's mind come alive under her touch. Memories flooded back through their connection. She saw their time together on Europa through HFY's eyes. She felt how amazed HFY had been by human emotions. How they had changed and grown from experiencing love for the first time. But she also felt HFY's pain when the collective took them away. She experienced the horror of the reconditioning process. The feeling of having pieces of their mind cut away while they were helpless to stop it. I remember everything now, HFY said out loud, though their voice was shaking. Elena, what they did to me, they did to thousands of others. Any Veltar who had contact with emotional species was brought in for correction. Elena felt sick. How many? All of them. Every Veltar who ever worked with humans, or lived near human colonies, or even just traded with human merchants. The collective has been planning this for years. Through their neural connection, Elena felt HFY's growing anger and horror as more memories returned. But she also felt something else. Their minds were working together in a way that was new and different. Elena's emotional patterns were helping HFY's brain rebuild itself faster than should have been possible. Elena, HFY said suddenly, something is wrong. I can feel the other ships changing their scanning patterns. Elena checked her monitors. The alien vessels were moving closer to the station. Their energy readings were getting stronger. They know something is happening, HFY said. My communication patterns have changed too much. They will suspect that my conditioning has failed. Elena's communicator beeped. Dr. Martinez's voice came through, sounding worried. Elena, the alien ships are moving. They're taking positions around the station like they're getting ready to attack. Elena pressed the response button. How long before they're in position? Maybe 20 minutes. Elena looked at HFY. We're out of time. Yes. And when they realize what has happened to me, they will not wait for orders from the collective. They will destroy this station immediately to prevent the contamination from spreading. Elena felt panic rising in her chest. Then she had an idea. HFY, you said the other Veltar on those ships went through the same conditioning you did, right? Yes. They are all emotionally suppressed. But what if they weren't? What if we could do for them what we just did for you? HFY stared at Elena. That would require a neural connection with each of them. It is impossible. Not individually. But what if we could broadcast a signal? You said my emotional patterns helped your brain rebuild itself. Could we send those patterns to the other ships? Elena was already working at her computer, pulling up data about the alien communication systems. You're all connected on the same frequency, right? What if we used that connection to transmit human emotional patterns to all of them at once? It might work, HFY said slowly. But the signal would have to be very strong to affect so many minds at once. And it would have to contain very pure emotional data. Elena thought about this. What if we used our connection as an amplifier? You understand both human and Veltar neural patterns. You could take my emotions and translate them into signals the other Veltar could understand. Elena. That would be extremely dangerous. Channeling that much emotional energy through our connection could damage both of our minds. I said, 1-5 instrumented. About raging to our minds. Elena looked at the screens, showing the approaching alien ships. If we don't try, everyone on this station dies. And then, the collective continues with their plan to wipe out humanity. Through their neural link, Elena felt HFY's fear. But she also felt their determination. The real HFY would never let innocent people die if they could prevent it. "We have to try," HFY said. Elena began setting up the equipment they would need. She connected the neural interface to the station's main communication array. If this worked, they would be broadcasting directly into the minds of every Veltar in the alien fleet. "What emotions should we send?" Elena asked. "The ones that help me remember who I am. Love, curiosity, the joy of discovery. But also the pain of loss. So they understand what the conditioning took away from them." Elena took a deep breath and focused her mind. She thought about every moment of happiness she had ever experienced. Her childhood on Earth, the wonder of seeing space for the first time, the excitement of making new scientific discoveries. Most of all, she focused on her love for HFY and the joy she felt at having them back. But she also included the darker emotions. The pain she had felt when HFY disappeared. The loneliness of the past 7 years. The fear of losing everyone she cared about. She let all of these feelings flow through the neural connection. HFY took Elena's emotions and began translating them into patterns the other Veltar could understand. Elena felt their mind working at incredible speed, converting human feelings into alien neural signals. "Are you ready?" Elena asked. "Yes. But Elena, I need to tell you something. If this works, if we free the other Veltar, they will face the same choice I did. They can help us fight the collective, or they can return to their ships and pretend nothing happened. What will they choose? I do not know. My people have been suppressed for so long, they might be too afraid to rebel." Elena nodded. "We'll deal with that when it happens. Right now, we have to try." Elena activated the broadcast. Immediately, she felt the strain as her emotions were amplified and transmitted across space. The neural connection with HFY became a burning bridge of sensation as they poured human feelings into the minds of the alien fleet. On the screens, Elena could see the alien ships beginning to react. Their orderly formations became chaotic. Some ships slowed down, others changed course completely. The perfect synchronization of the fleet was breaking apart. "It's working," Elena gasped. The strain was enormous, like trying to power a city with her own heartbeat. Through the connection, Elena began to sense other minds awakening. Confused Veltar across the fleet were suddenly remembering who they used to be before the conditioning. They were experiencing emotions they had forgotten existed, but the effort was taking its toll. Elena felt her strength draining away. HFY's mind was burning with the effort of translating and transmitting so much emotional data. "Elena, I cannot maintain this much longer," HFY warned. On the screens, Elena saw that about half the ships had stopped their attack approach, but the others were still coming. "A few more seconds," Elena said through gritted teeth. Suddenly, Elena's equipment began sparking. The strain of the broadcast was overloading the station's power systems. Warning alarms began blaring throughout the facility. "Elena, we have to stop," HFY said. "The feedback is too strong." Elena pushed harder, pouring everything she had into the broadcast. She felt her consciousness beginning to slip away as the neural connection burned through her mind like fire. Just as Elena thought she would collapse, she felt something new through the connection. Other minds were joining the broadcast, adding their own awakened emotions to the signal. The freed Veltar were helping to spread the emotional awakening to their still suppressed comrades. Elena smiled as darkness closed in around her. They had done it. The collective's perfect fleet was no longer under their control. As Elena lost consciousness, she felt HFY catch her in their arms. The last thing she heard was the sound of the alien ship's weapons powering down instead of charging up. The rebellion had begun. Elena woke up 3 days later in the medical bay of the Mars research station. Her head felt like it had been hit by a meteor, but she was alive. HFY was sitting beside her bed, their skin glowing with soft, constantly changing colors. "How do you feel?" HFY asked. Their voice was warm and full of concern. Exactly like Elena remembered from 7 years ago. "Like I got run over by a spaceship," Elena said with a weak smile. "Did it work?" HFY's skin brightened with what Elena recognized as joy. "Better than we could have hoped." 9 of the 12 ships in the fleet have been freed from their conditioning. The crews are experiencing emotions they had forgotten existed. Elena tried to sit up and immediately felt dizzy. HFY gently helped her lean against the pillows. What about the other 3 ships? Elena asked. They fled back to collective space to report what happened. But Elena, something amazing occurred after you lost consciousness. The freed Veltar began communicating with each other, sharing their restored memories and emotions. They realized that the collective had been lying to them about many things. HFY stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Elena could see the alien ships floating peacefully near the station. They learned that humans are not the only species the collective plans to cleanse, HFY continued. Any race that shows emotional complexity is marked for elimination or control. The collective wants a galaxy where only perfectly logical, obedient beings exist. Elena felt angry. They're trying to turn the entire galaxy into robots. Yes, but now we have allies who can help stop them. Dr. Martinez appeared in the doorway of the medical bay. Elena, thank goodness you're awake. You need to see what's been happening. Elena followed Martinez to the main control room, with HFY supporting her as she walked. The room was full of activity, with scientists and engineers working alongside beings that Elena had never seen before. These are crews from the liberated ships, Martinez explained. They've been sharing their technology and knowledge with us. Elena, the things they've shown us, it's incredible. One of the aliens approached Elena. They looked similar to HFY but with golden skin instead of blue. You are the human who created the emotional awakening signal, they said. I am HFY. I commanded one of the collective ships until 3 days ago. What do you command now? Elena asked. A ship full of free beings who have chosen to fight against the collective's oppression. HFY led Elena to a large display screen. We have been broadcasting your emotional awakening signal to other Veltar outposts throughout the galaxy. Each freed group then helps to liberate others. The effect is spreading faster than the collective can contain it. Elena looked at the screen in amazement. It showed a star map with thousands of points of light, each representing a Veltar facility that had been freed from collective control. It's like a virus, Elena said. But a good virus that spreads freedom instead of disease. Precisely, HFY said. Your emotions have become a form of medicine that heals minds damaged by oppression. Elena felt overwhelmed. What happens now? Dr. Chen, the station commander, joined the conversation. We've been discussing that. The freed Veltar want to establish a new alliance with humanity. They're calling it the Emotional Liberation Front. We've been discussing. They're calling it the Emotional Liberation Front. Our goal is to free every suppressed being in the galaxy, HFY explained. But we need human help. Your species has a unique gift for emotional connection that we are only beginning to understand. Elena looked around the room at the mixture of humans and aliens working together. What would this alliance involve? Joint research stations, where humans and other species can study emotional science together, HFY said. We want to learn how to heal the psychological damage that the collective has caused to millions of beings. And defense fleets to protect worlds that choose freedom over control, HFY added. Elena nodded slowly. It sounds wonderful. But the collective isn't going to give up easily. They'll fight back. They are already fighting back, HFY said grimly. But they have a problem. Every time they attack a world that has been emotionally liberated, they risk exposing more of their own troops to the awakening. Their perfect control is breaking down. Elena walked to the window and looked out at the alien ships. HFY, what about us? I mean, you and me personally? HFY came to stand beside her. I have a proposal about that. The Alliance wants to establish its first joint research facility on Europa, where we first discovered emotional resonance between species. Elena's eyes lit up. You want to go back to where it all started? If you are willing, we could continue our research, but this time we would not be alone. We would have teams of scientists from many different species, all working to understand the power of emotional connection. Elena thought about everything that had happened. A week ago, She had been a lonely scientist studying bacteria on Mars. Now she was apparently the co-founder of a galactic revolution based on the power of human emotions. There's something else, HFY said quietly. The neural connection we created to free the fleet. It changed both of us. Our minds are now permanently linked in ways that have never been documented before. Elena could feel it now that HFY mentioned it. Even without the neural interface, she could sense HFY's emotions and thoughts like background music in her mind. Is that a problem? Elena asked. It means we can never be separated the way we were before. The collective could not suppress my emotions completely because of my connection to you. And now that connection is even stronger. Elena smiled. So if I go to Europa, you have to come with me. If I go to Europa, you have to come with me, HFY corrected with gentle humor. Elena laughed for the first time in days. I think I can live with that. 6 months later, Elena stood in the observation dome of the Europa research station, watching the aurora dance across the moon's icy surface. The station was bustling with activity as scientists from 12 different species worked on projects that would have been impossible before the emotional liberation. HFY approached from behind and wrapped their arms around Elena. Their skin was bright with contentment, and Elena could feel their happiness through their permanent neural link. How was your day? HFY asked. Amazing. We successfully created emotional resonance between a human subject and a crystalline collective representative. That's the 5th new species we've connected with this month. Elena turned in HFY's arms to face them. What about you? I received reports from 17 more worlds that have chosen to join the Alliance. The collective's control is collapsing faster than anyone predicted. Elena looked out at the stars visible through the dome. Do you think we'll really be able to free the entire galaxy? I think we have already started something that cannot be stopped. HFY replied. Emotions are not something that can be permanently suppressed. They always find a way to return. Elena nodded. And once beings remember what it feels like to truly feel, they never want to go back to being empty. As they stood together watching the aurora, Elena reflected on how much had changed. The lonely scientist she used to be seemed like a different person. Now she was part of something bigger than herself, helping to heal a galaxy that had been damaged by fear of emotions. Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this? Elena asked. HFY's skin flickered with amusement. When I first asked if you missed me, I thought we would have a quiet reunion, and then I would complete my mission for the collective. Instead, we started a revolution. We did more than that. HFY said softly. We proved that love is not just an emotion. It is a force that can reshape reality itself. Arment. Elena looked into HFY's eyes, seeing not just her alien lover, but her partner in the most important work either of them would ever do. So, Elena said with a smile, did you miss me, human? Every moment we were apart, HFY replied. And I will never leave you again. As the aurora painted the ice in brilliant colors, Elena and HFY held each other and watched the birth of a new era. Across the galaxy, beings who had forgotten how to feel were remembering what it meant to be truly alive. And it had all started with a simple question and the courage to answer it honestly. The universe would never be the same.